What if I told you that behind closed doors, financial experts are out here talking about each other? Specifically, there are a lot of financial influencers, aka finfluencers, who share a lot of great information online, but who also talk down on financial professionals. And on the flip side, there are a ton of financial professionals like financial advisors, financial planners, wealth managers, who in turn talk about the influencers. I think it's funny, but I also think it's sad because I'm pretty sure that most financial experts have the shared goal of helping more people like all of you get their finances organized to build wealth. Because as we all know, wealth can really bring a better quality of life. So in this video, I am going to break down who you should and who you shouldn't take money advice from, especially how to be smart about what you see online. Because the last thing I want for all of you is to mess up your finances. For those new here, hello and welcome. I'm Lissa Lumutenga. I'm a certified financial planner and accredited financial counselor. And I'm also a content creator, aka financial influencer, aka finfluencer. I am here to help you learn more about building wealth and an abundant life. So if that is your vibe, make sure you subscribe. Let's jump right into the video. Here's what I want to cover. Number one, why there even is tension between financial influencers and financial advisors. Number two, what each group gets right and what they get wrong about money advice. And number three, how to figure out who you should listen to depending on where you are in your financial journey. Let me clarify what I mean by talking, and let me share how I know this is real. So I mentioned earlier, I am a certified financial planner and I'm also a content creator and an influencer. So I'm a part of both worlds. In the last few months, I've specifically gone to a few creator conferences and a few traditional financial conferences. And I've heard each side talk bad about the other side. After making my own observations, I realized that the tension comes down to two main dilemmas. Here is the two-pronged dilemma. There's a dilemma of access and a dilemma of ethics. Access. The struggle over who gets to have access to financial information and education that can really positively impact their financial lives. Historically, this has been a huge problem. It is why there is a wealth gap. Financial information has been gatekept. There's been a lot of jargon that no one wants to explain, and a lot of times access to this information meant that you needed money and access to professionals who you couldn't afford. A lack of access to this information is one of the main reasons that influencers started doing what they do, sharing information with the masses. I'm not saying all creators are created equal. We'll get to that later on in this video, but many creators who share financial information online are sort of mission driven. They have the idea that people deserve to know this stuff. People deserve the information on what they can do to improve their finances, build wealth, and of course have a better quality of life. Creators see themselves as democratizing this education about building wealth. They want to tear down those traditional finance walls. It's why I do what I do. I want to tear down those walls. At the very least, we should all have access to this information. I think it's a great mission, but this is where it gets complicated. Dilemma two is ethics. Traditional financial people feel that financial influencers are spreading misinformation, that everything they say online is bad, it's misguiding people, and there's an ethical dilemma here. Misinformation is false or inaccurate information, and that matters because if people are receiving misinformation and then taking actions on their actual finances and their finances get ruined, it can negatively impact their entire life. So financial professionals, specifically the people who have licenses and credentials and certifications, they're held to stricter ethical and legal standards. Basically, if they break those standards, they can lose their licenses, they can lose their certifications, they can lose their jobs, their reputations, and in some cases, they can even face legal consequences. So there's a lot of things they can't say or do because it can misguide people. From their perspective, it can feel very risky and dangerous for the audience that is consuming that information. And here's my thing. There is some truth to that, but it's not 100% the case. So what I think is, I don't think either side is totally right or totally wrong. I think both dilemmas exist. There's an access problem and there's an ethics problem, but I don't think it's black and white. There's a lot of gray area. So now that we know why this tension exists, let's talk about what each side gets right and what they get wrong. Let's start with influencers. So these are people who create content online about personal finance, about money, people who position themselves as wanting to help you improve your finances. Here's what they get right. Number one, they make money talk accessible. We already talked about access, but they normalize conversations about money in a way that the traditional finance industry never has. And even more, there are tons of voices that aren't stiff or condescending or stuffy. There are different people who are funny or emotional or relatable, because that's what matters the most. If you did not grow up around money, you want to hear someone online admit that, yeah, I also used to max out my credit cards. I don't anymore, and here's how I got to that point. It can make you feel seen and it can motivate you to change. Even though sometimes we do use jargon because finance just has a lot of jargon in it, we try to make it fun and understandable. At least a lot of us do. Another thing that influencers do right is they reach people early. Like I said earlier, a lot of advisors won't work with you until you have a certain level of wealth. So it's like, all right, I got to get to this level of wealth to get some help. But how do I get from here to there? And that's where creators and influencers and other resources online have made it more possible to fill in that knowledge gap and also get you to take action so that you can get to that point where you have so much money, you actually need a team to help manage it. Another thing influencers do right, in my opinion, is they show you real life. A lot of influencers will share their actual budgets, the mistakes they made, the wins that they've gotten. And that can be way more refreshing compared to some financial advisor in a suit saying, well, how did you mess up your credit again, right? Like not understanding the things that everyday people go through because nobody ever taught us. Influencers, even the ones with a lot of money, tend to be more in touch and connected to their audiences. All right, moving on. What do influencers get wrong? The first one is oversimplification. If you've ever heard anyone say something like,
just invest in the S&P 500, put all your money in index funds.
Yes, those things might give you a diversified portfolio, but they don't consider you as an individual. What is your risk tolerance? What are your goals? What is your time horizon? What is your strategy? Those things matter when it comes to figuring out what you should actually invest in. Kind of related, one size fits all advice. This is another thing influencers often get wrong. For example, you might have heard someone say,
pay off all of your debt before you start investing.
For some people, that could be smart, especially if they have a lot of high interest debt. But for others, it could be a whole decade lost to opportunity cost. And your strategy also depends on how close or far you are from retirement. Another piece of one size fits all advice that boils my blood when I see it online is when people say,
invest in a Roth IRA.
I don't want to get too in the weeds in it right now because I'll talk about it more in my next video. But for those based in the US, you've probably heard of this account. It's a popular account. It's an after-tax account and there are tax benefits to it. But there are so many nuances to how it works, like who even is allowed to contribute to one, the difference between contributions and conversions, how taxes work if and when you need to take money out of it, both before retirement and at retirement age. Those nuances and details are things that I rarely hear talked about in those 8-second TikTok videos where people are telling you to get a Roth. And those details are important because if you contribute to something like a Roth and you actually can't because of your income level, you might end up having to pay fees to the IRS. So without getting into the weeds on Roth IRA specifically, I just want you to be aware of this, that oftentimes you're not getting the full picture because it is complex. There are a lot of details. Another thing to watch out for with influencers, hidden incentives. Some creators are genuine educators who want you to learn more about money. Others are trying to sell you something. Other times, there are educators like me who are somewhere in the middle, where I am educating you, but I have stuff to sell as well, like my course for beginners, Hello Money Bootcamp, and I also am a financial coach. But it's not me selling these things because I don't genuinely care. It's because I do genuinely care, and I also have to support myself and my own business. A key thing for you to know in general about influencers is they are great for education, but don't take them as a substitute for personalized advice. Personalized financial advice is a recommendation that's tailored to you as an individual based on your unique circumstances, your unique goals, and your unique preferences. So in short, use the internet to learn and not always to decide or dictate exactly what to do with your finances. All right, that's enough shade for the creators and influencers. So let's shift gears to what financial advisors get right. When I refer to financial advisors, I want you to know that this is a very broad term. The traditional financial industry can be financial advisors, financial planners, accountants, wealth managers, and so many other types of professions. This isn't a full list because it's so complex that I can't name all the professionals. I don't even think I know all of the ones that exist. But in general, what I'm talking about are people who have licenses, credentials, certifications, etc., and are in the business of financial advice. Most financial advisors are trained professionals, meaning they've had some level of structured education on taxes, investments, insurance, estate planning, etc. There's different levels to how much education people have had and how many exams they've had to take, but at the very least, most of them should have learned something pretty legit. Another thing they get right is the part where they are regulated. If a financial professional has a license, it means they can get in trouble if they mess up or misguide people or act unethically. So there's some accountability with how they have to conduct themselves. Another thing financial advisors do right is some of them go wide and some of them go deep. What I mean by that is there are some financial professionals, like typically financial planners, have a general comprehensive understanding of many areas of finance, but there are also financial professionals who are specialists. So they go very deep on a certain topic. Think tax planning, retirement planning, college planning, debt management strategies, advanced investing. So those are some of the upsides of financial professionals. Let's talk about some of the things they get wrong when it comes to financial advice. Number one, often they make money very boring and elitist. A lot of the traditional finance world is still stuck in that era of old white guys in a suit. Lots of jargon, very little emotional intelligence, no understanding the behavioral side of finance. They're there to help people make money and help themselves make money. And that approach just doesn't work for all people, especially people who have deeper financial traumas or who never came from money and who need more guidance with their finances. Not all, but many. Number two, they gatekeep. I already covered this a little bit earlier, but there are many different ways people don't have access to financial professionals. Like a lot of firms will only work with clients who have $250,000 in assets or more. So again, it's like, who then is helping people get from $0 to $250,000? That's like a doctor saying,
sorry, I'm not going to see you until you're healthy, so go ahead, figure yourself out, and then come see me when you're ready.
And finally, representation. The industry does not reflect the people that it claims to serve. A lot of advisors don't look like me or probably you. And the thing is, when people don't see themselves represented, they don't feel safe asking for help, or they don't feel like it's for them. I felt like that for most of my upbringing and my early career. When people would talk about stocks or the stock market, it'd be a white dude. So I didn't think it had anything to do with me, when in fact, it's the opposite. I probably should have paid more attention and started investing earlier. So I am a CFP professional, a certified financial planner, and here are some stats for you on that profession itself. So there are about 100,000 CFP professionals in the United States. Only 23.8% of them are women. So less than 1 in 4. When it comes to racial and ethnic diversity, only 1.9% CFP professionals are Black. 2.8% are Hispanic or Latino, 3.8% are Asian. There are a couple other groups, but a whopping 81.5% of CFP professionals are white. So yeah, there is a big gap here, and it's not an overnight fix. But what I think financial professionals don't give enough credit to is how important it is to support all types of people from all different walks of life, especially those who don't have money or didn't come from money. So this is a quick tangent, but it's not that white people who are planners are not helping non-white people, but it's the representation. It's working with people who might understand more about you and your background and your culture and those nuances that can really help you feel heard, so that you will be motivated to improve your finances because somebody understands you and understands your goals. So now I've covered what both influencers and financial professionals and advisors get right and the things that they get wrong. As you can see, both sides have a lot to offer when it comes to helping you with your finances, but both sides also have things they are missing. I know we've covered a lot. Let's quickly move on to the final part in the video, which is how to figure out who to listen to depending on where you are in your financial journey. Here's the real secret, and that is you don't have to pick a side. I believe you can learn from both. The key is really knowing what stage you're in your financial journey and what kind of guidance you need right now. If you're just starting out, you're starting to learn about personal finances, maybe you still have a lot of debt, maybe you haven't built your net worth or don't even know what net worth is yet. Finding education on the internet from different sources, including influencers, this can be great for education, for motivation, for finding simple frameworks that you can understand. The big flag to look out for is prescriptive advice. If somebody on the internet tells you that you absolutely have to do this thing with your money, especially when it comes to buying specific investments, just remind yourself that this person doesn't know you. They don't know your financial situation. They don't know your goals. And yeah, maybe it could be a good investment, but maybe it isn't, because a good investment has to match your own situation, your own needs, and your own goals. Now, the thing is, the earlier you are in your financial journey, you'll probably have no choice but to lean on free resources or affordable resources. That's the smart thing to do. But what I want you to do on this journey is to also build your muscle of discernment. Your discernment is your own ability to tell what is solid information and what is sketchy, what applies to you versus what doesn't. Now, if your life is getting more complex, you have multiple accounts, your net worth is growing, you're getting married, you have kids, maybe going through a divorce, you have a business, that's when you might want to level up to a professional. That's not to say you can't DIY your finances for longer, but if you have the means and there's a professional that can provide value to you, you have to think of it as an investment in yourself and in your financial future. For example, one big area that I personally think most people who want to build wealth should consider is a tax professional, because not only do you need to file taxes every year, there's also strategic ways to approach your taxes. And I rarely ever hear creators talking about tax implications of things like investing in the S&P 500 or investing in Roth IRAs. Many elements of finance have tax implications. Now, last part of the video, I want to share with you a 3-question filter. As you build up your muscle of discernment, here are 3 questions you can ask when you hear financial advice, whether it's online or offline. Number 1, who is giving it? What is their background, their experience, their credentials? Do they have proof of real results, or are they repeating something they heard online? Question number 2, who is it for? All information, education, and guidance is meant for a specific person or type of person. You have to discern, is it for someone like you, or is it for someone in a total different situation? There are some tips like save up an emergency fund that is pretty much for every person. Like most financial professionals and most influencers are going to agree on that one. But for other types of tips, it really just depends on whether or not it applies to you or not. And number 3, the last question on the filter is, who benefits? Who benefits from this tip? If an influencer is promoting a budgeting app or a course or a company, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how a lot of us make money. But you should look out for disclosures, right? Transparency is a good thing. It's making sure that you, the viewer, is informed. I would be more concerned if people keep promoting products or companies without any disclaimers that they're getting paid by this company. Because interestingly, this same thing goes with professionals. Financial advisors, it's such a broad term. There are financial advisors who help you invest. But there are also financial advisors who earn money based on commissions by selling you products, insurance, annuities, certain investments. And again, there's an inherent conflict of interest there, but they have to disclose that to you. For both influencers and advisors, if someone doesn't explain to you how they're paid and how they make their money, that is a red flag. All right, if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button because it helps my channel reach more people who I think need to hear this message. Now that you know how to discern who to listen to and who not to, my next video goes deeper into how to spot bad money advice online, so make sure you check that out. Until next time, peace out.